My grandpa Arthur never liked being the center of attention. Not ever. He was a quiet man, kind eyes hiding behind thick glasses, hands usually busy fixing something in his workshop or tending his small garden. He served his country, came home, and built a simple, honest life. Fuss wasn't his style. So when the letter arrived, sealed with the official crest of the mayor's office, he was mostly just confused. He read it 3 times, his brow furrowed, then handed it to me. "My name's Sarah, by the way. I help Grandpa out, check on him most days." The letter was an invitation. Not just any invitation. It was for an award ceremony at City Hall, and the award, it said, was for him. Arthur Peterson, for outstanding service to the community. "Service?" he murmured, adjusting his glasses. "What service? I just fix leaky pipes and grow tomatoes." "Sarah," I read it again. It sounded important. Really important. "Grandpa," I said gently. "This looks real. Maybe it's for your volunteer work at the food bank years ago, or helping Mrs. Gable when her fence blew down." He just shook his head, a small self-deprecating smile playing on his lips. "That's just neighborly stuff, love. Not award stuff." But the date was set, the instructions were clear. Be at City Hall, next Tuesday, 2 p.m. sharp. Dress code, respectful attire. The days leading up to it were filled with a quiet tension. Grandpa tried to brush it off, pretended he might not even go. "Probably a mix-up," he'd say, polishing his old work boots even though the letter said respectful attire. But I saw the flicker of something else in his eyes. Curiosity, maybe a tiny bit of pride, buried deep beneath layers of humility. He hadn't talked much about his time in the service. Bits and pieces would slip out sometimes, late at night, after a shared cup of tea. Vague mentions of camaraderie, tough times, and the relief of coming home. Never about heroics. Never about medals or citations he might have received back then. He kept those things locked away, like old memories best left undisturbed. So this new award, this community service thing, felt strange. Out of place. Why now? And why him? He was just Arthur, the quiet man down the street, who kept to himself most days. The morning of the ceremony arrived, crisp and sunny. I helped Grandpa pick out his best suit, the dark gray one he wore to weddings and funerals. It was a little snug, but he stood taller in it. He fiddled with his tie, his knuckles white. "Are you sure about this, Sarah?" he asked, his voice raspy. "Feels like putting on a show." "Grandpa," I said, straightening his collar, "someone thinks you deserve this. Let's just go and see what it's all about. I'll be right there with you." He took a deep breath and nodded. "All right, love. All right." The drive to City Hall was quiet. Grandpa stared out the window, lost in thought. I tried to make small talk, but his answers were short, distracted. My own heart was beating a little faster. What was this really about? Was it possible Grandpa had done something remarkable, something even he didn't think was important? City Hall was grander than I remembered. Marble floors, high ceilings, important-looking people rushing about in suits. We checked in at a desk, and the woman's eyes widened slightly when she saw Grandpa's name on the list. "Mr. Peterson. Right this way, please. We have reserved seating for you near the front." Near the front, my eyebrows shot up. Grandpa just shuffled his feet, looking even more uncomfortable. This was definitely bigger than helping Mrs. Gable with her fence. We were led into a large auditorium. It wasn't completely full, but there was a respectable crowd. Soft music played. Banners hung on the walls. There was a stage at the front with a podium and several chairs. We found our seats, marked with a small plaque, "Arthur Peterson and guest." Grandpa sank into the plush chair, looking small against its size. He scanned the room, his eyes searching, maybe for a familiar face, maybe just trying to understand. People were starting to fill the remaining seats. A few nodded politely in our direction. Did they know him? The lights dimmed slightly. A hush fell over the room. My stomach did a little flip. The mayor walked onto the stage, smiling warmly. Mayor Davies was relatively new, elected last year. Known for being energetic, focused on community spirit. She welcomed everyone, her voice clear and friendly. She spoke about the importance of recognizing local heroes, the unsung contributors who make the city a better place. Then she began announcing the awards. There was one for a young woman who started a free tutoring program. One for a group that cleaned up the local park every weekend. One for a firefighter who'd shown exceptional bravery. With each name called, there was applause, photos, a handshake with the mayor. They were all wonderful, deserving people. Grandpa watched, clapping politely for each recipient. But with every award given, his confusion seemed to deepen. He kept glancing at the program, then back at the stage, as if trying to solve a puzzle. He leaned over to me, whispering, "Sarah, I think there's been a mistake. None of this is me." "Just wait, Grandpa," I whispered back, squeezing his hand. "Let's just hear what she says." Finally Mayor Davies paused. She took a sip of water, and a different sort of energy seemed to fill the room. An expectant silence. "Our final award today," she began, her voice softening slightly, "is a special one. It recognizes a different kind of service. Not one single dramatic act, perhaps, but a lifetime of quiet integrity. And also, one specific act, long ago that went unrecognized." My breath caught in my throat. Grandpa sat rigidly still beside me. "This award," the mayor continued, looking out over the audience, "goes to a man who served his country with honor during wartime. He faced challenges most of us can only imagine, and he did so with courage." She spoke briefly about his military service, respectfully, but without specifics, just acknowledging that part of his life. Grandpa nodded slightly, his eyes fixed on the stage. This part, at least, was familiar territory, even if he didn't like dwelling on it. "He came home," the mayor went on, "and like many of his generation, he didn't seek accolades. He sought peace, he worked hard, raised a family, became a pillar of his neighborhood, in his own quiet way. Always ready with a helping hand, expecting nothing in return." She mentioned fixing things for neighbors, shoveling snowy sidewalks for the elderly folks on his block, the things Grandpa dismissed as just being neighborly. "But," the mayor said, and her voice dropped, drawing everyone in, "there's more to the story, much more, something that even the recipient may not fully grasp the significance of." Grandpa shifted in his seat. I could feel his unease growing stronger beside me. It felt like the air was crackling with anticipation. "Many years ago," the mayor said slowly, deliberately, long after his military service was over on a cold rainy Tuesday afternoon, November 14th, 1980-something. "A simple act of intervention occurred, right here in our city, on Elm Street near the old bakery." Grandpa's head tilted slightly. "Elm Street, the old bakery." He looked utterly baffled. "There was an incident," the mayor continued. "A small apartment fire had started. Smoke was pouring from a second-floor window. People were gathering, panicked. Fire trucks were sirens in the distance, but not there yet. Inside, near that window, was a little girl, trapped, terrified." My hand flew to my mouth. Grandpa's eyes widened behind his glasses. He was gripping the armrests of his chair now. Before anyone could fully react, the mayor's voice resonated through the hall. A man passing by didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for the professionals. He saw the danger, saw the child. He managed to break down the apartment door. He ran into the smoke-filled room, located the little girl, and carried her out to safety. Just as the first fire engine screamed around the corner, the hall was completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. In the chaos that followed, the mayor said, with the firefighters taking over, paramedics checking the child, the crowd surging, the man simply slipped away. He didn't give his name. He didn't seek thanks. He just disappeared back into the rainy afternoon. Tears were prickling at the corners of my eyes. I looked at Grandpa. His face was pale, his mouth slightly open. He looked stunned. Did he remember this? The little girl, the mayor said, her voice thick with emotion, suffered some smoke inhalation, but made a full recovery. She never forgot the face of the man who saved her. She never forgot the feeling of being carried out of that smoke, safe in his arms. But she never knew his name. Her family searched, asked around, but the quiet hero remained anonymous. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. For decades, that act remained a mystery, a moment of incredible bravery performed by a ghost. The mayor locked eyes with someone in the front row. Until recently. My heart was hammering against my ribs. What was coming next? Through a series of chance connections, the mayor explained, a renewed search effort, and perhaps a little bit of fate, the identity of that man was finally discovered. Living quietly, modestly, right here among us. She turned her gaze directly towards us. Towards Grandpa. The man who ran into that building, who saved that little girl without a second thought, who asked for nothing in return. She paused dramatically. Is the same man we honor today for his lifetime of quiet service. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing Mr. Arthur Peterson. Applause erupted throughout the auditorium. Thunderous, genuine applause. People were standing, turning towards Grandpa, their faces full of admiration and surprise. But Grandpa didn't move. He just sat there, frozen. His eyes were wide, unfocused. He looked utterly poleaxed. It wasn't the look of someone accepting an award, it was the look of someone whose entire reality had just tilted on its axis. I gently touched his arm. Grandpa, go on. They're waiting. He blinked, looking at me as if seeing me for the first time. Sarah, I don't. He trailed off, shaking his head slowly, bewildered. He remembered the fire. I could see it dawning in his eyes now. A hazy memory, pushed aside for decades, a rainy afternoon. Smoke, a child crying. Acting on instinct. Then just leaving. He hadn't thought of it as heroic. He'd thought someone else would take care of it, that the professionals were there. He'd just done what needed doing in that moment, and moved on, never knowing the outcome. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he stood up. His legs seemed unsteady. I stood with him, ready to offer support. As he started walking towards the stage, the applause swelled again. He reached the stage, shaking the mayor's outstretched hand automatically, his eyes still distant. She handed him a beautiful glass plaque. He held it as if he wasn't sure what it was. The mayor smiled, leaning towards the microphone again. Arthur, she said kindly. We know this is a lot to take in. You never sought recognition for what you did that day. But the life you saved, it mattered. It mattered profoundly. And then came the part that truly shattered everyone's composure. The mayor turned slightly, gesturing towards the front row, not far from where we had been sitting. And the little girl you rescued all those years ago. The one who never forgot your face, who searched for her anonymous hero for so long. She paused, her own eyes glistening. She's here today. She wanted to thank you herself. A woman stood up from the front row. She looked to be in her late 40s, with kind eyes and a warm, trembling smile. She wasn't a stranger. My gasp was audible, even over the fading applause. Grandpa stared, his eyes blurry with confusion and unshed tears, slowly focused on the woman. Recognition flickered, then dawned, crashing over him like a wave. It was Clara. Clara Jenkins. The head librarian at the downtown library. Grandpa went to the library every week. Every single week, he'd chat with Clara about books, about the weather, about his tomatoes. They knew each other. Not well perhaps, but they were familiar faces in each other's quiet routines. For years. Clara walked towards the stage, tears streaming freely down her face now. She stopped a few feet from Grandpa, her hands clasped together. Mr. Peterson, she said, her voice choked with emotion, but carrying through the silent hall. Arthur, I never knew it was you. All these years, seeing you in the library. I never knew. Grandpa just stared at her. The glass award almost slipping from his trembling hands. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Clara continued, softer now. I looked for you for so long. After the fire my family tried. But you were gone. I remembered your face, your kind eyes. When I saw that article in the local paper last year, the one about local veterans, there was an old photo of you from your service days. Her voice broke. It was you. I knew it instantly. It took me a while to work up the courage, and then I contacted the mayor's office. She took another step closer. You saved my life, Mr. Peterson. You ran into that smoke for a little girl you didn't even know. Because of you I got to grow up. I got to have a life, a family. I became a librarian because I wanted to help people find stories, find connections, maybe find answers, like I was always searching for. Grandpa finally found his voice, though it was barely a whisper. Clara. Little Clara. He remembered her now not just as the librarian, but as the small terrified face peeking through the smoke. The memory, buried for decades, rushed back with stunning clarity. He slowly lowered the award onto a nearby table and took a hesitant step towards her. "I didn't know," he stammered. I hoped you were all right." "I was," Clara sobbed, reaching out and tentatively touching his arm. "Thanks to you, I was." And then right there on the stage, in front of the mayor and the whole stunned audience, my quiet, humble grandpa, the man who never liked fuss, broke down. Tears he'd held back for years, maybe tears from the war, tears from loneliness, tears of pure, overwhelming shock and relief, streamed down his face. He reached out and gently, awkwardly, pulled Clara into a hug. The room dissolved. There wasn't clapping this time. Just the soft sound of sniffling and shared emotion. Mayor Davies wiped her eyes. I was crying uncontrollably, pure pride and love and astonishment, washing over me. My grandpa wasn't just a veteran. He wasn't just a quiet neighbor. He was a hero, twice over. Once in a war he never spoke of, and once on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, an act of bravery he'd almost forgotten, but which had changed a life forever. And that life belonged to someone he saw every week, a quiet connection he never knew existed. The ceremony ended shortly after that. There were no more speeches needed. People came up to Grandpa, shaking his hand, patting his shoulder, their eyes full of respect. Clara stayed by his side, her hand protectively on his arm, introducing him to her own grown children, who were beaming with pride. On the drive home, Grandpa was quieter than ever, but it was a different kind of quiet, not uneasy, but thoughtful. He held the glass award gently in his lap, tracing the inscription with his finger. "All these years, Sarah," he murmured, looking out the window again, but seeing something different this time. "All these years seeing Clara, a lovely young woman, I had no idea." He shook his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. It wasn't the self-deprecating smile from before. This one was real. Soft, amazed, and maybe, finally, accepting. Just seemed like the thing to do at the time. He whispered, more to himself than to me. "Didn't think it was anything special. But it was special. It was extraordinary." That day, my grandpa attended his own award ceremony, expecting little. But what the mayor revealed wasn't just about an old forgotten act of bravery. It was about the invisible threads that connect us, the hidden impacts we have on each other's lives, and how sometimes, the quietest people carry the biggest hearts, and the most profound secrets, even secrets hidden from themselves. He went in as Arthur Peterson, quiet handyman and veteran. He came out as Arthur Peterson, recognized hero, reunited with a life he unknowingly saved. And maybe, just maybe, he finally saw the quiet service of his entire life as something truly worthy of honor. Wow, what an incredible story of hidden heroism and unexpected connections. Sometimes the biggest impacts come from the quietest corners. What did you think of Arthur's story and Clara's search? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Sharing this video with someone who might appreciate it would mean the world to us. Thank you so much for listening.